Salutations! I went to this year's Halo World Championships to not only show off my Halo Reach Evolved mod, which was an amazing opportunity given to me by the Jumperscape crew, but to also witness the big reveal Halo Studios had planned for the convention. Halo Campaign Evolved premiered to the world, and I got to see that happen live, which was surreal. On the very same day Campaign Evolved was announced, the attendees were allowed to play the demo for the Silent Cartographer. I have to give Halo Studios credit. The fact the opportunity presented itself this way was a bold move, and I respect the developers for their generosity in gathering feedback and data this early on. I'll be going over my opinions and the data I was able to collect for this game. I was not sponsored, nor brought out to Seattle by Halo Studios, and had to play the demo the same way as everyone else. I did not have access to video capture software, and I apologize for the lack of consistency with the camera angles. The tables were pretty short, and it took me a while to figure out the best setup. Each session was 15 minutes long, and the demo ended with a shafted cutscene. I played it about 7 times, and all 4 difficulties were available to try. While I gathered data, I couldn't get everything I wanted due to limited time, and my memory being as good as a goldfish's. If I don't say something specific in the video, ask me anything in the comments and I'll answer to the best of my ability. I don't want to waste any more time. I got a lot to go over, so let's get started. As rumors have speculated, Campaign Evolved uses a fork of Halo Reach's engine as the gameplay component, with Unreal Engine 5 handling the graphics. The moment I started playing the demo, I immediately detected the Reach in here. Let's talk about everything I found regarding this. First off, the characters. Every biped in the demo uses their Halo Reach animations, from Marines to Elites to Hunters. The Marines still do that slow turn thing, the Elites have their fast melee attacks, Jackals flinch the same way they do in Reach, it's all there. I tried assassinating enemies, but that didn't work. Elites can board your Warthog, and once you eject, your movement slows down, exactly the way it does in Halo 3 and Reach. The Hunter's back armor can be destroyed, further exposing their weak spot. Weapon trading is in the build. While that was introduced in Halo 2, the way Marines fire rocket launchers is 1-for-1 with Reach, with their rockets tracking enemy infantry, while yours can't. Pelicans and Spirit dropships no longer use recorded animations. In Halo 1, mission designers would record themselves flying dropships in the scenario editor, and the playbacks are used as animations for dropship scenes. Halo 2 changed this. NPCs fly the dropships now, scripted to fly through specific markers on the map, and Halo Reach uses this feature. This makes the dropships noticeably more stiff in the air compared to the player-controlled Pelicans from Halo 1. Moving on, there were no overshields at all, and player health recharges instead of relying on health packs. I have a hunch regarding why overshields and health packs were not in this build. Halo Reach only supports traditional overshields in multiplayer, being limited to the game type power-ups. Meanwhile, health packs are present in Reach's campaign, but they require a button press to activate. It seems like they need time to implement proper versions of these pickups. Another Reach quirk involves active camo. The stealth elites have shields. In Halo 1, these elites were not shielded. In Reach, you cannot have unshielded enemies use camo, because camo strength is tied to energy shields. When the shield depletes, so does active camo, and it won't reactivate until the shield recharges. I'd like Halo Studios to re-implement unshielded camo enemies. It would make the stealth elite encounter not as arduous, since you currently can't one-shot headshot them like in Halo 1. Yet another Reach mechanic is using crouch to reduce bloom for the first shot. I should have aimed at a darker surface, so I apologize if this is hard to see, so just take my word for it. I promise this is in the demo. This was most evident on the assault rifle, but I think it was also on the pistol and plasma rifle, but very barely, it was hard to tell. These next few are not Reach specific, but vehicle EMP is present, and Warthogs can be destroyed. I didn't get to test it, but I'm certain the vehicle health system is the same as Reach's, with its health bar completely separate from the driver. If the vehicle's HP reaches 0, it doesn't matter if the driver is healthy, the vehicle will blow up. I'm curious to see how this affects the Warthog run. Everyone's favorite feature, Sprint, is also in this game. Halo Studios announced it would have a toggle, but it was not present in the demo. Sprint is definitely faster than Halo Infinite's, but it's not as slippery as Reach and 4's. I will say, now that Warthogs are destructible, sprint can be helpful to get from point A to B faster if your Warthog got destroyed or is about to die. While tapping the trigger for automatic weapons, 2 bullets fire instead of 1, unless you're barely registering an input. This was not present in Halo 1, but appeared in Halo 2. It was not fixed until Halo 5. It being present in Campaign Evolved only further proves this is a modified Reach engine. There were 8 total weapons in the demo: the assault rifle, pistol, plasma pistol, plasma rifle, needler, rocket launcher, and both frag and plasma grenades. The Warthog was the only usable vehicle, while the Pelican and Spirit dropships were flown by NPCs. This section will not go into the visual or sound design of each, that'll come later. For now, I just want to discuss the gameplay. Let's start with the assault rifle. Each magazine holds 32 rounds, with 128 spare at the start, and can hold up to 288 rounds maximum. It behaves a lot like Reach's assault rifle. It uses Reach's bloom mechanics, with crouching reducing the initial bloom value. Also like Reach's assault rifle, it seems to fire at 10 rounds per second, and does comparably low damage per shot. Out of all the weapons in this build, the assault rifle unfortunately disappointed me the most. It was the weakest weapon on offer compared to the other weapons. I have a hunch the SMG is planned to be in Campaign Evolved as a replacement for the original MA5B rifle, and if that's the case, I have to respectfully disagree with this direction. The original assault rifle is as iconic to Combat Evolved as the M6D pistol is, so much so that it's on the original box art. The MA5B is one of my favorite Halo weapons of all time, and to see it not be included here is a massive disappointment. The original is a 10 damage per shot, 60 round per mag monster, firing at 15 rounds per second. It performs its namesake, being one of the best weapons for an assault charge. Its wide firing spread seems like a detriment, but it lets it shred grunt squads with ease up close. Its bullets pierce through enemies, damaging multiple via collaterals. The Campaign Evolved assault rifle simply does not compare. Its DPS is low, it's nowhere near as good at cleaning grunt squads, and the game doesn't start you with enough ammo. With all that being said, I also understand that a 32 round AR with an emphasis on precision burst firing was likely chosen for newcomer expectations. The original assault rifle behaved more like a hard-hitting SMG than your typical FPS rifle, and I could see newer fans being deterred from such a weapon. However, Halo Studios can still include the MA5B while meeting those accuracy expectations. Simply have the initial accuracy be a lot higher than the original, but become much less accurate with sustained fire. This will incentivize burst firing from a distance, while being the close-range monster it always was. I can assure you this will make both crowds happy, the veterans and the newcomers to the series. The next weapon is the iconic M6D pistol. It holds 12 rounds per magazine, starts with 72 spare rounds, and 84 max. Holding the trigger fires the pistol automatically, and I'm certain it still deals 25 damage per shot. While the assault rifle was very weak, the pistol was the opposite, bordering on overtuned. I've always defended the Halo 1 pistol in the past, saying it is not overpowered contrary to what most people think, especially in a campaign sense. In Campaign Evolved, however, it takes after the Halo 5 version of this weapon, with a more generous red reticle radius allowing for higher bullet magnetism. The elites are also much less resilient in this game. These are the amount of pistol shots it takes to break an elite shield on each difficulty. Bleed through was not enabled for the pistol, which meant one more shot was needed to kill via headshot. Compare this to Halo 1, this is due to a 20% damage penalty versus elite shields, and possibly greater shield strength compared to the demo. This, combined with much weaker bullet magnetism, prevented the pistol from being overpowered in Halo 1. It does not help that in Campaign Evolved, you start with considerably more magazines than the assault rifle, rendering the rifle worthless when you can just melt everything with a pistol. I'd say make the elite shields resist pistol bullets again, and lessen the magnetism. I'd also decrease projectile velocity to force shot leading from a distance. If the needle rifle and battle rifle are to be in this game, The pistol should not completely usurp them. Those two need roles in the sandbox as well. What I would not do is lower the base damage. I think where it's at is perfectly fine. It's just everything else surrounding the pistol, from magnetism to weaker enemies, is what's breaking it right now. Another indirect pistol change is the hunter's weak spot no longer being susceptible to headshots. I think that's a great change, combined with the hunters being based on the reach ones, which I believe are the best in the series. However, from what I found, the rocket launcher, needler, and plasma grenades are the current best options for hunters, and resources for all three only appear so often. I feel if the pistol does not one-shot hunters anymore, it should at least deal bonus damage anyway. On Legendary in the demo, it requires around 2 whole magazines to kill a single hunter, where I think it should be less than that. I'll talk about the grenades next. The plasma grenade is one of the best options for hunters in Campaign Evolved. 2 of them kill a hunter on normal, 3 on heroic, and 4 on legendary. Unless it was their arm shields, it didn't matter where you stuck them, they seemed to deal full damage to hunters. Meanwhile, the frags are no longer the nuclear bombs they were in CE, now just a standard Halo frag grenade. Like those from Halo 2 and onwards, they can airburst after bouncing once, and deal moderate explosive damage. I don't know how I feel about the frags being like this. This puts it in line with the rest of the frags in the series, and makes it more unique from the plasma grenade, which cannot airburst. However, the fact they were hand nukes in Halo 1 were what made them so fun to use. I think I'll get over it though. I don't hate the current iteration. We do get 4 of each, so it's not like we're lacking in explosive firepower. Next is the rocket launcher. 2 rockets per reload cycle, 6 in reserve, and it can target track vehicles. It works like Reach's, where it'll automatically lock on when red reticle is achieved. In this case, the Spirit dropship's turret was all that could be locked onto in the demo, and that also confirms these turrets are destructible, unlike in CE. It remains to be seen if it'll strictly lock onto air vehicles like in Reach, or if it'll expand to ground vehicles too. Kinda hoping for the latter. I like the homing rockets. Now that we can trade weapons with allies, that means rocket marines on the side of your Warthog are possible in this game. I'm glad our allies can finally accomplish something meaningful like this. It's an excellent quality of life feature. To begin the Covenant handheld weapons, we have the Needler. Like the assault rifle, this is a much different version from Combat Evolved. It holds 24 needles per magazine, with only 72 maximum in reserve. 7 needles are required for a super combine, and unlike in Halo 1, individual needles deal impact damage immediately. It's only effective when you have red reticle, and that range is pretty short, but the needles are faster and have better tracking than CE's. I really like that the Needler is more viable now, and is another great hunter option. To kill a hunter, it's 2 super combines on normal, 3 on heroic, and 3 plus a few needle impacts on legendary. I think it could use 1 more spare magazine though, buffing it to 96 spare needles like in Reach. One thing I really don't like, however, is the ammo counter. I did not like it on Infinite's Needler, and I still don't like it here. This screen gives you 3 ways to see how much ammo you have in your magazine. The needles on the weapon, the ammo meter in your HUD, and then the screen itself. The screen is just redundant, in my opinion. Next up is the Plasma Pistol. Each primary fire shot spends 0.5% of the battery, giving the user 200 shots at full strength. An overcharged shot spends 10% of the battery. Charging the weapon drains the battery, while charged shots EMP vehicles. Regrettably, this was the weapon I used the least, so I don't have a lot to say about it. It's a standard Halo 3 era Plasma Pistol. It's not the beast that was CE's Plasma Pistol, especially since you cannot fire it as fast as you could pull the trigger, but I like the modern utility it brings to this campaign. Stunning vehicles will always be a good feature to have. I'm curious to see how this will affect specific vehicles in the campaign though, like the Banshees at the start of the second mission. They're scripted to not be usable by the player, so will this mean they'll be EMP immune as well? This is a script function in Reach, so it's possible. I did find that the standard shots were pretty weak versus Elite Flesh. For reference, this clip was on easy. Not the biggest deal, since that's not the Plasma Pistol's role in this remake. I'm just too used to the World Destroyer from CE. The final weapon is the Plasma Rifle. Each shot spends 0.5% of the battery, offering 200 shots at full strength. The original Plasma Rifle is my favorite weapon from Combat Evolved, so this one has a lot to live up to. Thankfully, it's pretty good here. It deals great damage to shields while also shredding unshielded targets, just like the Halo 1 plasma rifle. Not much else to really say, to be honest. While I have some visual issues with the plasma rifle that I'll get to a bit later, I enjoyed its gameplay. It scratched that Halo 1 plasma rifle itch for me, and I hope it remains effective at launch. Moving on to vehicles, the sole drivable vehicle is the Warthog. It has modern Halo Warthog features, including a horn, power sliding, destructibility, and really poor Marine drivers. I didn't use the machine gun turret that much considering the Marines got me killed each time I gunned, but it behaves a lot like Halo Infinite's chain gun turret. Notably, it does not overheat. Splattering enemies is not as easy as Halo 1, considering Halo 1's Chucky physics are not being used, but it's still easy enough. I wish I tested to see if vehicles use Halo Infinite's Doomsday destruction, so I don't know if that's in here or not. The only noticeable change with the Pelicans is the addition of chin guns, and the Spirit dropship turrets seem to fire sideways angled needles instead of plasma, probably a placeholder. I also noticed the Spirit's doors are a lot like Halo 5 Spirits. Now that I talked about the weapons, vehicles, and reachisms of the Campaign Evolved demo, I'd like to discuss everything that I liked, have nitpicks about, and greatly disliked about this remake. I think the cutscenes are gorgeous, especially the Elite Zealot scene. I do feel the opening cutscene goes on for a bit too long though, and I miss the first person perspective as you approach the beach. It'd be really cool to see the Pelican get shot down in first person. The Forerunner interiors are a step in the right direction compared to Halo Anniversaries. Nowhere near as bright, and the darker tone is present. The presence of ambient wildlife is appreciated, especially the crabs. I think they're adorable. The visuals in general are really pretty. I love how the water looks and the way the sand interacts with your Warthog. I also like how the Bravo 22 site transforms after the crash. Some of the weapon effects are really cool. Rocket launcher explosions are incredibly powerful, the plasma bolt impact effects are very liquidy, and the plasma grenade arming effect is really sick. To quickly recap on other things that I've already said that I liked. Most of the weapons felt great to use, especially the plasma rifle. The quality of life additions such as weapon trading, EMP, the Warthog features, etc. were welcome additions. The hunters are based on Reach hunters, which are my personal favorite. On the flip side, here's some of the dislikes that I've already mentioned. The assault rifle does not perform like the MA5B and is way too weak. The pistol's bullet magnetism is too strong, and the elite shields don't resist it hard enough. The Needler's ammo counter screen is redundant, with the weapon offering 3 ways to read magazine capacity at the same time. There's no overshields on the map to add respite for upcoming encounters. The stealth elites should be unshielded. Finally, the assault rifle and or the pistol should deal more damage to hunters, so the player has an easier time taking them on when needlers, plasma grenades, and rockets are scarce. Before I get to more of my gripes of the demo, I like to point out these 2 assault rifles by Bravo 22's crash site. They spawned before the crash itself, so I assume this was an oversight. I'd also like to remind everyone that while I have quite a few issues with Campaign Evolved, my overall experience with the demo has been a positive one, and given how much the devs were pushing the surveys, I can see a lot of the problems being fixed by release. Let's start with visibility. Enemies, especially shielded jackals, can be tough to see at times. The human ammo caches are even more obscured by the environment. Marine corpses and human weapons blend in with the ground. Shield flares on the elites and jackals should also be looked at. Jackal shields don't react at all to plasma fire. As for the elites, if it weren't for the hit markers, I'd have a hard time telling if my shots were landing. In Halo 1, the elite shield flares not only visibly register damage, but illuminate the elites in darker areas too. Speaking of hit markers, I'm not a fan of those either. Enemies reacting to damage, whether it's through shield flares or ping animations, were all that was needed to convey shots landing in Halo 1. I found hit markers especially annoying when driving a Warthog. The Marine gunner and passenger are the ones shooting. I don't need to be distracted by hit markers that I'm not causing. While I prefer it to be removed entirely, at the very least, this should be a toggle like Sprint will be in the future, and that brings me to Sprint itself. I know the Sprint debate is extremely tired at this point. It's been in the franchise for 15 years now, and I remember the early Reach days when the Bungie forums were erupting with Sprint discourse. I get that Sprint will be a toggle in Campaign Evolved, but with how it is now, it makes skipping encounters very easy. If Halo Studios really wants sprint in this game, it should come with limitations, whether it's limited energy like in Reach, stopping the player when they get shot, or shields and health do not recharge while sprinting. Me personally, I don't like to place myself in the pro-sprint or anti-sprint camp. I hate the sprint debate, but I felt compelled to bring it up since it's a big change to Combat Evolved that should not be ignored. Moving on, something I don't hear a lot of people talk about is the lack of D-scoping. Campaign Evolved brought back the Smart Scope from Infinite, which I don't mind on its own. What I do mind is the fact you can't be shot out of it. Mid-range enemies are a lot easier to keep a zoom on while under fire. I did not have to practice as much self-preservation when I was confident I'd stay scoped in at all times. This is yet another reason why the pistol is so strong right now, because it's virtually uncontested at mid-range due to no D-scoping. I highly advise bringing D-scoping back to force players to strafe more against incoming fire. The Spirit that drops off the Jackals after security override has a messy landing. The Jackal's exit animation also lingers too long, forcing them to levitate. This is admittedly a small nitpick, but I don't like the pistol's illuminated iron sights. They were a bit distracting for me, and because the weapon has its integrated scope, it shouldn't have this. I'm not the biggest fan of the plasma rifle design. The hooked nose situation at the front doesn't look right to me. If it doesn't change, it's not the end of the world, but I'd prefer a sleeker design like CE's. I'm also not sure how I feel about how wide the Warthog is. It might be hard to see in my footage, but the dashboard components have messed up UVs and are flipped. While I really like the cutscenes, I have one concern: the music during the transition from cinematic to gameplay. The original cutscenes made sure the music kept going as the player gained control. This was something sorely missed in Halo 2 Anniversary cinematics. They were gorgeous for sure, but the music cutting off as the cutscenes ended has been my biggest issue with them. This should be rectified for Campaign Evolved. If the current loading screen was just there for the demo, that's fair enough, but boy do I miss the original loading screen. A modern version of it should return. It's no secret that Campaign Evolved is reusing a lot of assets from Halo Infinite and even a bit of Halo 5. I don't mind the Covenant units being from Infinite, as they look really nice here. What I'm not a fan of are the Marines. If these are not placeholders, then this will be the second time in a row where we don't get proper Halo 1 Marines in a remaster/remake. I really want my green eyepiece Marines back. The biggest example of asset reuse, however, is through the first-person weapon animations. Almost all of them are from Halo Infinite, with the exception of Halo 5's Halo 1 pistol and the plasma rifle, which uses brand new animations. The plasma rifle's firing animation in particular is in a rough state, in my opinion. Halo 1's weapons had a specific feel to their animations that was lost with Halo 2. Reloads were slower and more calculated, while ready, firing, and melee animations were a lot more stylized and exaggerated. In no way do I suggest that Halo needs to go the direction of something like the new Modern Warfare series, which by and large has set the standard for view model animation since its release. But Combat Evolved is probably the most unique animation feel in the entire Halo series, from the overall slower pace to the assault rifle's HK slap. It's very unfortunate to not see that style of animation revisited in modern fidelity. Next, I want to discuss the Forerunner architecture. Earlier in the video, I praised the interiors returning to a darker tone, and I still stand by that. However, most of the surfaces are too gray and shiny for my taste. The buildings themselves are too straight-edged, with not enough curvature like in the original. The first structure you see during the beach assault is so far removed from the original design, it doesn't look like the same building. The structure by the first Hunter encounter is also very different. It does not look like it opens a door, and more like any other Forerunner beam tower. One minor detail that was missing from the demo is this large hole in the wall that exposes Forerunner building material. It's a nice bit of world building, showcasing how deeply entrenched the Forerunner tech is on the natural parts of Halo. These last few points are my biggest gripes with Campaign Evolved, as they affect the play spaces themselves. For starters, the invisible wall blocking the water off needs to be extended further out to sea. One of my favorite things to do on Silent Cartographer is to take the Warthog out into the ocean as far as I possibly could. Does it make sense? Of course not, but it was beautiful. With all the new seafaring wildlife in this game, imagine the ecosystems you could see. There's also a lot of new rocky areas just begging to be explored. Why can't I go there? The beaches are way too rocky. While it doesn't sound like a big deal, it affects player traversal, whether they're on foot or in a warthog. I was constantly getting caught on rocks, which felt annoying when trying to aim at targets or simply get somewhere without resistance. These beaches are really pretty, but they're not that fun to fight on. It needs to be fun before it looks good. Jamie Griesmer talked about this next point on Twitter, but the tree that serves as a vehicle blocker to the island interior is gone in the demo, and I feel this was a change for the worse. Sure, you could wedge a hog through the tree in the original game, but most people never thought to do that on their first playthrough, and it required effort to pull off. Now, you simply hold up your left thumbstick, and you can skip the first hunter encounter with ease, which I think is a huge detriment to this playspace. My final gripe is my biggest: the removal of the right side ramp by the cartographer entrance. With this cut, there's just two ways to the cartographer now: the left side and then the cave to the right. This also removes a scene involving the 3 jackals by the beach. In Halo 1, when the Covenant at the cartographer entrance are getting killed, these jackals fall back to reinforce their allies. Without this ramp though, they can't do that, so they just stand around doing nothing, watching their friendlies die. And that'll be everything I've experienced in the Campaign Evolved demo. Overall, while I listed quite a few issues with this build, I believe Halo Studios has the ability to rectify them before release. We have a potentially great game here, but a lot of work must be done to achieve that potential. You're gathering feedback this early on. Use this time to make the most of it all. If and only if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, leave a comment on your thoughts on this remake or questions you might have about it, subscribe for more Halo content from this channel, hype the video so it gains more traction, and ring the bell to never miss an upload. I'd like to thank my patrons, as well as my Needler Gang YouTube members, for further supporting the channel. Your patronage is highly appreciated and I love each and every one of you. This is the Ventral Vatum. Always remember that you matter more than you think you do, and I'll see you on the great journey.